Yes, people, Manscaped is back, but this time it's not for below the belt grooming. Manscaped brings to you the Beard Hedger, the best product on the market when it comes to beard trimmers. The Beard Hedger is unique due to its number of gradient settings. As someone who's purchased this, I won't turn to any other beard trimmer. Check it out for yourself at manscaped.com. And don't forget to use code FTM20 to get 20% off of this product.
Yes, good morning. We are now back. It is no longer the transfer news show. It is the morning news show where we bring you a little bit of transfers, because obviously we need to look at the back of the window, but I don't want to be talking about transfers anymore, if I'm honest with you, particularly when it comes to talking Arsenal. Good morning to everyone. Please make sure you do me a favor and hit the like button, and of course hit the subscribe button. Also, we're going to be talking a little bit about Arsenal today. We're also going to be talking about the Saudi League, a little bit about England, and some of the morning news topics and stories this morning as they hit the papers. We're going to go through that. Big up to every single one of you for being here. Once you've hit the like and subscribe button, please make sure you go over to manscaped.com. Please make sure you go over to select Beard and Face, the Beard Hedger, add it to your cart and use the code FTM20. That's FTM20, and you'll get 20% off of that product. Please make sure that you do that. Let's say good morning to everybody that is live in the chat room. Good morning to everyone who's watching on catch up, and of course those of you that are in the chat but aren't typing away. Good morning to Marcus. Good morning to Tammy. Hope you're well. Emerson, Pete, to Robin, to Jay, of course, as well to PTM Productions. Good morning to One Love. Morning to Kay. Morning, Potts. I've been following the growth from earlier. Big up yourself. Thank you so much, mate. I really do appreciate that. Marcus, Andrew, Johan, Malcolm, Richie, It's Me, Everest, Dancing Bear, love that. Mike, True Gooner, and Helsinki, and everyone else that I've missed. Big up to all of you. I hope you're doing so well. I hope you enjoyed a weekend of football, which, let's be real, picked up some surprising results, would I say? Certainly, this is London's going to be interesting on Wednesday, when none of us have actually taken 3 points. Deji, of course, in the mud after losing. Spurs losing to Newcastle yesterday, of course. Manchester United absolutely battered by Liverpool yet again. Ten Hag completely and utterly now, in my opinion, has to be sacked and go. So big up to all of you. Thank you all so much for joining us. A little bit of a different format. We're going to be doing this show Monday to Friday. We're going to be talking about all of the morning's news so that you are up to date and you know what's happening. So big up to every single one of you. Okay, so let's go into the news, the reports this morning. We are going to touch on Arsenal at the end, and I'm going to do something a little bit different. If you would like to ask a question, please make sure you put it in the chat using the big capital Q, and I will come to all of your questions for the end of the show. If you do want to put in a super chat, then please make sure you do that. Hold off for asking questions at the moment, because we're going to go through the news and I will miss your questions and have to scroll right the way back up after I'm doing all of my reports and reporting on the news. So when we get to around about 9:10, 9:15, make sure you get your questions in. I will give you a reminder. Let's talk about the Saudi Pro League, because it is still open, people. Now, Liverpool explored the possibility of signing Victor Osimhen this summer transfer window, but they were put off by the huge salary. Now, it looks as if Arsenal, Chelsea and Liverpool were all looking at Victor Osimhen as a serious summer target. However, they were put off. And I don't know if it was by the fee and the wages, or by the wages or by the fee, or maybe by a little bit of a combination of the both. But it looks as if he could still get his move over to the Saudi Pro League, because it does not shut until tomorrow. So that league will be open. So it could be that Osimhen still goes to the Saudi Pro League, which I imagine will probably happen. I don't think he's going to stay at Napoli. I don't think Conte wants him. And obviously, now that they've got Lukaku, it looks like Conte's got his guy. So it does not look like Osimhen is going to be staying at Napoli. And to be fair, I think it's a matter of when that happens. To be honest with you, the wages are going to be absolutely crazy. But are there any Premier League players that are going to be making the move? Well, definitely one of them that has done is, of course, Ivan Toney. That was reported on deadline day. And it looks as if there was an unbelievable amount that he is earning. The England forward will earn £400,000 a week, the equivalent of £800,000 a week before tax in the UK. After moving to Al Ahly from Brentford, he has decided that from 20k a week, which is what he was earning at Brentford, he's now earning over £400,000 a week. That is insane. Are there any other Premier League clubs that are going to be looking at selling anybody over to Napoli? Well, it looks as if Trippier is one that is being rumoured. Now, it looks as if, though, now Newcastle may have to keep him. They are suggesting that they've dismissed any suggestions that Trippier wants to leave in the next couple of days to Saudi Arabia or to Turkey. Both of those windows are open a little bit longer. We cannot sign anyone, but we can sell players to those windows until they shut. So there will be some outgoing still in the Premier League in the next 24 to 48 hours. The Newcastle right back might head over to be one of the several that are interested in Saudi Arabian clubs. The 33-year-old now is keen to leave Newcastle, but I think Newcastle may now have to keep hold of him. They've only really got himself and Livramento. They're not really gifted with many fullbacks. So what will happen there? One player that definitely does look like he's leaving next summer after interviewing on Sky Sports News is, of course, Mo Salah. He said, and I quote, "Everybody knows this is the last season at the club. Liverpool really are this season coming to the end of an era after losing Jurgen Klopp and starting the Premier League so well, by the way, under Arne Slot. I don't think Liverpool are playing very differently to the way they did under Klopp. I really don't. Now, they haven't got the amount of intensity, and they're obviously not going to have that get over the edge kind of quality that Jurgen Klopp had. But actually, when you look at it, Liverpool don't look too differently to what I expected them to look like after Klopp, if I'm honest with you. So I'm not fairly surprised that they are playing well. However, Mo Salah has made it quite clear. Now, we know that they've brought in Mamadashvili as well, who's clearly going to replace Alisson probably next season if he's staying on loan this year. So it looks like Alisson, Van Dijk, who's not signing a new deal, Mo Salah as well, and of course Trent Alexander-Arnold may all be leaving Liverpool. Now, that is the real end of an era. That, for me, are their best players. That is like the equivalent of Arsenal losing Saka, Ødegaard, Saliba and Rice. That is a real big statement for Liverpool fans moving forward, thinking, where's our future lie under Arne Slot then? Who are they going to be bringing in? Because the window was pretty bleak, only Chiesa coming in. I don't think it's a magnificent future for the kind of near future, I should say, of Liverpool. But certainly they want to do all they can to keep hold of all of those players because they are absolutely needed at Liverpool, in my opinion. So that one could be very interesting. And Mo Salah, let's just have it right. He's a phenomenal talent and he's still scoring goals at the very best. And for me, he's one of the most disrespected Premier League players of all time. I don't know how people can't put him ahead of some of the likes of Bale. And so I think he's right up there with Giggs and Hazard and Ronaldo for me. I don't know how people can't put him up in that bracket now. It is crazy. Let's talk about free transfers because obviously people can still sign free transfers. And it does look like there's a couple of interested clubs in Memphis Depay, who's only 30 years old, by the way. It feels like he's been here forever. But Sevilla are interested, but they may have been priced out of a move for him. He is attracting interest across Europe after leaving Atletico Madrid, and the Spanish clubs are circling. So it could be that he is staying in Spain, or of course in Europe. Maybe he'll go back to Holland. To be honest with you, he's always been a player I've always felt never really has reached his potential. And now at 30 years old, you'd like to think that he could find a move somewhere and that a team would like him. Let's talk about a player that's played for us, Willian. He is a free transfer at the moment, and he is a player who is 36 years old now. He has flown to Athens with Olympiacos, keen to sign the Brazilian international. That's come from Fabrizio Romano, who suggests that he is on his way. So Willian to Olympiacos looks like a here we go as far as Fabrizio is concerned. Let's talk about this guy, Mats Hummels, a player we all know very well, a player who played in the Champions League final, of course. Look, I thought there was real interest in a few clubs, to be honest, in the Premier League. Brighton were looking at the 35-year-old. He is a free transfer, but Roma are in talks to sign him. He is, of course, on a free transfer. He's 35 years old, and they are looking to replace somebody who is heading to the Saudi Pro League, and that is, of course, someone we all know very well. He's now at Roma, 35-year-old Chris Smalling. So it looks now as if he could be on his way out and Hummels could be on his way in at Roma. Let's talk a little bit about England because it is now, of course, the international break. Unfortunately, Phil Foden has had to pull out. Apparently, he's not well. He's suffering from illness. It looks like he is no longer going to be around for the England duty next week, and it is a huge doubt. Looks like he's going to pull out. Suffering from illness, that's all it says. I always wonder and question mark how ill some of these players are, but of course, maybe that is the case. Unai Emery has said that it is a disgrace that Morgan Rogers is not in the England squad and that he is in the unders. He believes that he should be in the squad, and I must say, I thought it was quite a surprise. I thought him and Jude Bellingham were two players I expected to see in that midfield because he looks so similar to him. I'm not saying he's going to be anywhere near the level, but he certainly does look very, very impressive. And Unai Emery has hit out at the England camp and the new regime for sending him to the under-21 squad. It is absolutely crazy. I really did feel like there was potential for him to get in this time, but it looks like that is not going to be the case. So that's on Morgan Rogers. Somebody who has definitely missed out with their place and looks like they may no longer have a future there is, of course, Kyle Walker. Now, Pep Guardiola has said that he believes that he will get back into the squad. He believes that he absolutely will be back in the England squad after the Three Lions caretaker boss Lee Carsley has dropped him. Now, it does look as if that is a bit of a strange one. However, I do think the right-back scenario at England has been so strong, and due to age and injury, it might actually become a little bit weaker. We know Kieran Trippier and both Kyle Walker and Kieran Trippier have been fancied at right-back over the last couple of tournaments. They've got to a certain age in their late 30s where they probably won't be around for the following tournament and the future ones. That means that Reece James, when everybody is fit, is probably England's best right-back, but he's absolutely made of glass and cannot keep fit. So who's next in the pecking order? Well, it has to be Trent Alexander-Arnold, doesn't it? I know that people don't like him playing right back, but for me, he'd be my first choice all day long. As long as you get the centre-back pairing right and the midfield right around him, with Declan Rice and with John Stones and Jaron Branthwaite and Mark Guehi, I think there's an opportunity to do that now. So for me, Trent has to play at the right back position. Of course, if you don't like that, then you've got Ben White, who at the moment looks like he's not interested in playing for England. It looks like there's a huge fallout there, and he just isn't interested. So therefore, for me, there's an opportunity for, if you're a right back and you're young and upcoming in England, you've actually got a chance of going and playing for England. So that could be a real interesting position. So watch this space. Pep, after speaking on Kyle Walker, has also stated for Manchester City that it could be a huge mistake not replacing and, of course, selling Julian Alvarez. He has admitted that Manchester City might have made a mistake in selling the young Argentinian striker to Atletico Madrid. They did not replace him. So it looks now like that is the only position in the Manchester City squad that I can see as being particularly weak. Obviously, Haaland is an absolute machine, and it looks as if the 7 goals he scored in 3 games is just going to keep getting better and bigger and bigger. Unfortunately for us, we're trying to fight against that. The only thing I can hope, and it sounds really cruel, is that he gets a long-term injury and that they can't replace him. That is the only way I see Haaland stop scoring goals at the moment. He's absolutely brutal when it goes to a one-on-one. You know that it's in, and that for me is really worrying for everybody else in the Premier League. Haaland, for me, I think when he retires, you'll look back at his career and you'll think, wow, he was the closest to Ronaldo and Messi in terms of goals. I think there's only them two that can compete with what he's going to do. I really do think, wow, 22 years old and you're doing that? That's pretty scary. Let's talk about England quickly, lastly, with Lee Carsley, who, by the way, is, of course, looking more and likely that he's going to be the England manager permanently. It looks as if, for example, he has now been awarded an improved contract by the FA, which indicates he'll be given an extended chance to prove his credentials to be England's permanent manager. If I'm honest, I've accepted this is our New England boss. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that Eddie Howe, Graham Potter, Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp, Mauricio Pochettino were all looked and linked, and also Gerrard, Lampard's, Rooney's, all these guys as well. But if I'm honest with you, I'd rather have Lee Carsley than Rooney, Lampard or Gerrard. But at the same time, if it isn't going to be a Pep Guardiola or somebody of that level, then it looks like Lee Carsley is going to be the guy. Now, obviously, in the under-21s, he's been playing very good football and looking very decent. But we have to actually see what this England is like. And I, for one match, look at that and think Lee Carsley and what it's going to be like for him in the England setup. How are we going to play? Are we going to be different to Gareth Southgate? Is there going to be a style of play straight away? Is he going to be able to get the best out of these players? Apparently, my Wi-Fi is playing up, people. It's showing me. So apologies if I am a little bit in and out or if I'm lagging. But Lee Carsley is going to be the New England manager, I think. So let's see what happens. It's a good time for you to start getting your questions in, people. Please make sure that you put a question with a Q at the start so that I do know that it's a question. You can ask me anything you want on football, anything you want on Arsenal. It is up to you this morning. And also make sure you do me a favour. If you do want to put in a super chat and donate to the channel, I much appreciate it. Those questions will, of course, jump the queue. Someone who has signed a new deal with Chelsea is, of course, Nicholas Jackson. Now, it looks like everybody at Chelsea, if they sign a new deal, they don't sign one for 2 or 3 years. They sign one for 23 years. I'm, of course, exaggerating. However, Nicholas Jackson has agreed to extend his contract until 2033. So we're talking another 9 years at the club. That is absolutely incredible. It includes the option to extend further in the future if he wants. Jackson scored 17 goals in all competitions during his debut season, and his return has been more impressive given he initially joined Chelsea as a squad player, with Nkunku viewed as the first choice forward last season before his injury. Jackson's been happy with how he's adapted to the Premier League after coming from a Liga side at Villarreal. So it looks as if Chelsea fans are very happy. Now, I'll say this about Nicholas Jackson. I don't think he's a shocking, shambolic player, but I certainly think he's shocking in front of goal. I think he's a poor finisher. I don't think he's a horrendously bad footballer, but he doesn't do anything, in my opinion, to raise the standards at Chelsea and take them to another level. But 17 goals is not a bad first season. It has to be said. Let's start some of your comments and questions now. Let's make sure that you put a Q at the start of them so I do know that it's a question. I'm more than happy to answer anything you want on football, anything you want on Arsenal. So please make sure that you are, of course, putting those questions in. I will say a little bit on Arsenal just before we do come to a close. There was one here, a couple of questions that I wanted to ask as well. Excuse me. Mikel Merino. It looks as if 6 weeks out. Look, it's really disappointing. It's really disappointing. Excuse me. I should have bought a drink up here and I haven't. It's really disappointing. I have a worry about this one. If he has fractured his shoulder, I think it's going to be more than 6 weeks. If it's not that bad, it's a hairline, we can talk potentially about there being the opportunity for him to come back a bit sooner. But I honestly would not be surprised if this one keeps him out towards November, December time. Just looking at past injuries, looking at how footballers have recovered or not recovered from similar injuries in the past, I really worry about this one. I really do. I'm not saying he's going to be out as long as Jurriën Timber was. Don't panic. I expect at the bare minimum to see him around Christmas time. But they are saying that it could be 6 weeks. And of course, that would take him to around about the end of October. Or middle of October, I should say. Please, please, please. We need him. We want to see him. Our midfield is short already. Our strikers are short already. If we was to get an injury to a Havertz, a Trossard, or a Declan Rice or a Partey at the moment, we really are short. And it's worrying. It's really worrying. So I hope that Mikel Merino has a speedy recovery. I really do. The other player who does not look injured, but in this picture, obviously, he was out for a very long time. Jurriën Timber apparently is not massively injured, and it is just cramp that he came off with. So it does not look like, excuse me, that there is a injury problem with Jurriën Timber. So I think we will be okay. Hopefully, he doesn't get injured along with the other players that have gone out for international duty. And I hope and pray that we can get into a scenario where we bring everybody else back fit, because we really do need them. Of course, there was the fallout this weekend of the red card involving Declan Rice. Now, let me know what your thoughts are about this in the comments. I'd be really interested for you to let us know what you believe. Should have happened, didn't happen, did happen. I thought Chris Kavanagh had a shocking game, if I'm honest with you. I thought the refereeing standard was poor, but I know the officiating poor in this country. Doesn't surprise me. Doesn't shock me. I didn't look and go, who the hell is this ref? This is a disgrace. Oh, my God. I thought it was poor. I didn't think the yellow card that he gave was poor. I didn't think the tackle on Rice he gave was poor. What I will say is I thought the lack of inconsistency throughout the whole game and across the whole Premier League weekend was a joke. An absolute joke. I have seen some horrendous decisions. I have seen some players kick the ball away, boot the ball away, throw the ball away, move the ball on, and get away with it. I have seen Declan Rice flick the ball with his right foot and get sent off for it. So there needs to be a level of consistency. If the letter of the law says that Declan Rice has to be booked, I've got nothing against that. He knows the rules. He should know better. But then everyone else should be getting booked, right? Everybody else should be. I honestly do not understand why Chris Kavanagh has decided that that is a blatant yellow card and João Pedro's isn't. It's absolutely crazy. It really is. So, listen, there'll be fallout, there'll be disagreements, there'll be people that agree, disagree, that say it's a disgrace. But let's be real, it was a bad decision throughout the whole of the weekend when you look at the lack of consistencies in other games. And to be fair, how João Pedro's not got a yellow card is absolutely beyond me because he really does hit the ball away. So, look, I'm not saying there's conspiracy against Arsenal. I'm not saying referees hate us. I'm not going to be crying about that because for me, the reason we lost the game is because we missed chances, not because the referee screwed us and said, I don't want Arsenal to win. I'm going to send your player off. I don't believe that happens in football. I really don't. But I do also understand where people are coming from. One player we might need back in the international break and after it is, of course, our new signing, Raheem Sterling. I don't know how I feel about this one. I need to look at him in a serious way. This player has potential to be a really good signing for Arsenal. This player has the potential to be a flop. And that's what you get with Raheem Sterling. He's inconsistent. He's incredibly frustrating. He misses a lot of chances, fluffs his lines. But there are opportunities he gets into where he can create for players and he can score goals. So I think he's a player we need. I think he's a player we clearly want. It's a player that Mikel Arteta knows very well. And also it's a player who I think we absolutely need now. We're very, very short. So listen, let's go through your questions. Let's see what you think. We'll be back very, very shortly. I've got to go and get a drink because my throat is dying. So please put your questions in and I'll see you in a couple of seconds. Okay, guys, we're back. Superb. God, I needed that. Absolutely needed that. Okay, let's go through your questions then, shall we? There's a few of you that have starred some questions. Please do put in super chats, do put in questions. I'll go through as many as I can. So this one comes in from Ike again, says, should we go for Rabiot? We're in a desperate situation. We have to win now. I don't care how. Wow. I never thought we'd be in the scenario where the transfer window shuts and Arsenal look short, but we are. And I have to say that if you offered me a Rabiot or no one, I would take Rabiot now. I really would. I really would. And I never would have gone for him in the transfer window. I honestly thought we were going to be strong enough in midfield. And it looks like we're weaker. On weaker's maybe harsh. It looks like we're no stronger. I'll say that. Because Ethan Nwaneri has been replaced, has replaced Fabio Vieira. Nobody has replaced Smith Rowe. We have Marino, who's now injured. So we're back to Declan Rice, Jorginho and Partey. And we go into the next couple of games after the international break with Jorginho and Partey as our double pivot. We might have to look at either using somebody else in there or at least having them as backup or changing the system. So, yeah, Rabiot could be a good shout. Genuinely could be a good shout if we needed to bring in somebody, but I just don't see that happening. Look at me, I'm the pilot now. Absolutely love that. Are you worried about City even more this season? Their passing versus West Ham was scintillating. And they have no Savio or Rodri yet, and of course Alvarez. Yeah, this is what worries me. Rodri's not even in their team yet. Julian Alvarez is gone. Savinho is coming back. They've got Gundogan back in the side. They don't miss Rodri, do they? They don't miss Rodri. No one's speaking about Rodri missing. Nobody at all. So we're in a scenario now we actually have to look at Manchester City being stronger than last season, and they haven't even had Rodri yet. And they haven't really had Foden properly playing yet. They haven't really had KDB massively killing it yet. They haven't had Savinho, who, by the way, looks like a Mahrez replacement. So we need to be looking at that seriously and thinking, are we as strong as last season? I'm not so sure that we are, but I'm hoping I'm wrong. Based Kirby says, hypothetical world, if Pep ended his City career with an invincible season, how frustrated would you be? I'm already frustrated with what he's done at Manchester City. I don't think he wants an invincible season, if I'm honest. I mean, he'd take one, but I don't think that is one thing that he dreams of. I think he probably dreams of another treble or quadruple more than an invincible season. I think we'll always be the first to do it, so it won't really bother me if somebody else does it. We saw Bayer Leverkusen do it in another league. We've seen Celtic do it in another league, but we'll be the first to always have done it. So I think when we look at it, yeah, I don't think I'd be too gutted about it. They've done everything else. If there's a team to do it, it would be them. Let's come to Kwame's question. It says, Dan, do you think next Sunday in the North London derby we'll use both Jorginho and Zinchenko? I think we'll use Jorginho. I don't think we'll use Zinchenko. I think it will be the same team, but I think we will have Jorginho and Partey in the base of a double pivot, and we will have Ødegaard in the number 10. That's what I think the team will be, if I'm honest with you. I don't expect Zinchenko to come into midfield. I wouldn't mind seeing him there. I prefer him there than left back, personally. So, yeah, I don't expect to see Zinchenko playing. But we'll never know. You never know. Pete says, who's to blame for the club's lack of ambition by selling more players than incomings? I think it has to be Edu. And Richard Garlick, they're the transfer negotiators. Arteta's to blame as well because he's the one who says, I want this player, I want that player. Arteta is the one who says, yep, he can go. He's not in my plans. And they've done this. So I kind of feel like it's all of them, really. I blame the Cronkies for not showing ambition and stumping up cash this summer, although they've done it previously. I blame Arteta for allowing players, the okay for players to go and not be replaced. And I blame Edu and Richard Garlick for not doing enough in the transfer window. So I kind of feel like they're all to blame, really. But big up, Pete. Hope you're well, mate. Douglas says, should the England job be part-time? No, I don't think it should be. I do think that it is a lot more than what people believe. I know people think they just sit and watch a few games and then go, right, England, let's go. But actually, there's a lot more of it now. And as modern day football has moved on, I do think it's a full-time job for sure. PTM Production says, who starts the next match in midfield in the absence of Rice? Yeah, I do think it'll be Jorginho and Partey in a double pivot and then Ødegaard in the 10. I think that's going to have to happen. I don't think we've got another choice, if I'm honest with you. Tammy says, Dan, who would you play in midfield against Spurs? There's a couple of options, to be fair, because I know a lot of people are talking about this. We can play Jorginho, Partey, and we can play Ødegaard. The other thing we can do is we could play Zinchenko in the 8, Partey in the 6, and Ødegaard in the 10. The other thing we can do is we can play Ethan Nwaneri and Ødegaard in front of Partey. The other thing we could do, if you believed that he had the legs for it, is Jorginho in the 6, Ødegaard in the 10, and Partey in the 8. But I just don't think he's got the legs for that, in my opinion. So there are other things that we can do, but I think it will be Jorginho and Partey in a double pivot with Ødegaard in front of him. I just don't see where else we go, and I don't think that is particularly strong, not particularly weak. I don't think it's a shambles, but I think it will be difficult. Do I think the bench is stronger or weaker than last season? I think it's stronger when everyone's fit, but at the moment, it's weaker than last season. We didn't have Salah and Dean and Lewis Skelly and Ethan Nwaneri on the bench last season. We had Nelson, Eddie, and Smith Rowe, and I would probably suggest that they are stronger than those three. When I look at it, I'm not sure at the moment who comes on and changes the game. Martinelli and Trossard are the only two really that come on, and one of them starts, one of them's on the bench. It's very difficult. It is. It really is very difficult to look at who and why and where. But certainly at the moment, yeah, we are definitely 100% in trouble when it comes to strength in depth. That's for sure. That's for sure. So that one comes in. This one comes in from Baguma. Says, Dan, what's the injury current status of Timber and Ødegaard, as both were struggling at some point in the match yesterday? I reckon Havertz will start in midfield and Sterling up front against Spurs. There is a lot of people talking about Sterling starting. If we were to do that, I would still play Havertz up front. I don't want Havertz in midfield. I'd rather, if we have to, play Sterling on the wing, Saka on the wing, and Havertz up front. Or Trossard through the middle, or Martinelli through the middle. I still think there's an opportunity for Martinelli to go centrally. I really do. But we'll see. Look, Timber is fine. Apparently it's just cramp. Ødegaard, there's no rumours that he's injured at all. He played majority of the game, got subbed off, but it was just a knock. And it looks like he's going to be fit throughout the international break. And of course, when we come back to the Tottenham and Man City game. So I think the only real problem we've got is Rice's suspension for Spurs. He'll be back for City and Atlanta. And then obviously it looks like we're potentially going to be without Jesus unless he can come back on the bench. Like he might be the only one that comes back, you know. Marino's out. Tomiyasu's out. So it's going to be potentially very, very difficult for us to have a bench that's really strong. But hopefully some of these players can come back really soon because we need them. We absolutely need them. Dancing Bear says, do you think we might get Rabiot on a free? I don't know if he's still available. We just answered that one. I probably would take him now because I feel we're short, but I don't think we will get him. How am I feeling about the North London derby? No different than I always do. I'm always nervous going there. It's like the dentist. You just want it to go well and over and done with. Listen, I think last season we shocked them, if I'm honest. We went to their place and we destroyed them. We were 3-0 up at half time. They got back into the game through a rare mistake and, of course, a penalty that was given away. I do feel like it will be a difficult game, but Tottenham aren't looking good, people. Tottenham have dominated in a couple of games. They absolutely smashed Leicester City, but then they couldn't get the result done and they ended up drawing that game. They dominated Newcastle in parts of it, but let's be real. I'm honestly not in a position to believe that Tottenham yesterday were looking outstanding. That high line is a problem, man. It is a massive problem. So I do feel like there's a opportunity for us to get in behind Spurs. I really do. I think that high line is a mad thing. Absolutely mad thing. Okay, let's take the next question. This one comes in from that Lee. Says, would you use Timber or Zinchenko in midfield? If I had to use one of them in midfield, it would be Zinchenko ahead of Timber. Although I think Timber can play there. I think Zinchenko has played there for his country. Timber kind of played there a little bit for Ajax, but I think he's more of a fullback. Look at me, says Potsy. I noticed when Haaland scored his second or third, he had two defenders on him. Yeah, he took his time, scored top left of the goal. You're worried that we don't have anyone with that. Yeah, is that clinical? Yeah, I do. I mean, listen, we haven't got a Haaland in our side. You know, I wanted a striker. I wanted Isak. I wanted Osimhen. I wanted Tony. I wanted Gyökeres. I thought we needed one of those players. And I thought it was pretty obvious at the weekend that we missed and are still missing a striker. So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. Okay, who else have we got here? I've kind of answered this one. Who's to blame for the for our transfer irresponsibility? I kind of blame them all. Edu and Richard Garlick, Arteta, Kroenke. I kind of think they're all to blame. Tuslav says, I don't understand why we don't go for Depay on a free. He'd be a good backup for Jesus and an upgrade on Nketiah. Listen, I'd rather have Depay and Rabiot than no one. But let's be real. Are they really going to needle move us? Are they really going to take us across the line? Probably not, if I'm honest with you. Can we still sign players only if they are on a free transfer? Yes, that is it. That's the only way we can sign players if they're on a free transfer. I don't know when that free transfer window shuts. It's normally a few days after the transfer window itself. So, Wes Bird says, Dan, is your biggest concern the fact we didn't bring in a striker and that we're still not clinical enough in front of goal, or our lack of impact players coming off the bench? Both, mate. Both. And I'll say this, if we got a striker, it kills two birds there because you've got somebody that can be clinical in front of goal and you've got somebody from the bench that becomes a hell of a lot stronger. If we was to buy a striker and an attacking midfielder, if we was to go and have got an Eze and a Gyökeres, for example, we would be able to put on the bench the likes of Havertz, the likes of Jesus, Sterling. So we'd have Havertz, Jesus, Sterling and Martinelli all on the bench, or Trossard all on the bench. That's what two more signings does. That's why I think we're too short, people. That's why I think we're too short. Joseph says, did you have a stern conversation with Lee about giving the window a 7 out of 10? I didn't know he'd given it a 7 out of 10. I thought he'd give it a 5 out of 10 when I was with him. I can't believe he's giving it a 7. I honestly am shocked at how people can give this 7s, 8s, 9s out of 10. I saw someone give it a 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10 window. My goodness. How can we do that when we've sold players and haven't replaced them? I find it bizarre. I really do. Big up, Joseph. Michael says, will this be the year that Everton go down? It's turning toxic on the blue side. Listen, for Super Kevin Campbell, RIP, I really hope they stay up. But I do fear for them. I don't think Sean Dyche has got what it takes this time to keep them up. And I actually, at the moment, have tipped them to struggle. I've tipped Forest to actually struggle this season with Southampton and, of course, Leicester. But I have to say this. I've been more impressed with those than I have Everton. And Everton look the team at the moment that are in the most trouble. How can you be 2-0 up with 3 minutes to go and lose the game? That is a shambles. Absolute shambles. Anyway. Netweed, hope you're well, bro. Thanks for the super chat, man. He says, crazily, we could get Depay but second Teta is clueless. I love how you call him second Teta. I know you're not a fan, are you, Netweed, of Mikel Arteta? I know you're not. You say it how it is, mate. I do love honesty. You know I'm honest, and I know that I love the fact that you are as well. Memphis Depay and Rabiot are two players that could actually come in and do a job for Arsenal now. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, though. Is it a good thing that they be good signings, or is it a bad thing for the state that we're in right now in terms of what our bench looks like with kids on it? It could be a problem. Thanks for the super chat, though, my bro. I hope you're well. Okay. No, answered that one from Michael. Let's come in here from Jack's question, who says, Dan, you two agree one of Kivior, Calafiori, Timbers, Zinchenko, Tierney have to become a midfielder. There's simply no need for 5 left backs, mate. Well, Tierney's still at the club, but he's injured and he's probably going to go in January somewhere. I imagine he'll probably be loaned back to Celtic, or the loan window is still open. You can still loan players, so perhaps he'll go on loan somewhere. Zinchenko in midfield is definitely an option. Timber in midfield is definitely an option. Calafiori is not an option in midfield, in my opinion. I think he's come as a centre-back / left back. Kivior is not an option in midfield either. We have got enough cover at left back and at defence. We are stacked. But midfield and striker, not so much. Width, we're okay now. Sterling, Saka, Martinelli, Trossard. I think we're good there. Wanyeri can play out there as well. Attacking midfield, a little bit short, but even Wanyeri I have big hopes for. High hopes for, in fact. And up top, we've literally just got Havertz, and then we've got Jesus, and then we've potentially got Trossard, Martinelli that can play there. So we've definitely got players that can all play in every position. Are they good enough? We'll have to see. Are we clinical enough? We'll have to see. So that'll be interesting, won't it? That's for sure. That's for sure. Let's take a couple more before we do go. Where are we? A couple of questions here that I'm going to start. Let's see where we're at here. There we go. Okay, cool. Last few questions before we wrap, guys. Let's come to Kwame, who says, can Sterling lead us to the Premier League title? I really, really hope so. I really hope so. I think it will be an opportunity for us to see where we're at with Raheem Sterling. And I think the only positive I can take from it is that Arteta knows him well and has worked with him massively before. They love each other. They've got a great relationship. But I think even more so than that, he's going to prove a point. He's going to prove to everybody that Chelsea made a mistake in selling him. He's going to prove to City and Liverpool that he can fight for a title still at the age of 29. He's experienced. He's got quality. But I feel like he's inconsistent. And it does not excite me. I have to say that. I have to say that indeed. Last few questions now before we close. This one comes in from Tuslav. He says, do you think we could get a striker in January, or will we have to wait for the summer? If not, who do we get in January to solve our problems up front? We ain't getting a striker in January, in my opinion. I think we've messed this one up. I think the only dream now is to go all out for Isak in the summer. That's my only wish now. I don't think we're getting one in January, mate. I really don't. Wes Bird says, are you worried about Liverpool too, Dan, as they look good yesterday, as we aren't the only challenge to City? No, I always said Liverpool were going to be in a title race. I never went down this onslaugh's going to get them top 6. I always thought Liverpool would be up there. I think Liverpool should be in a title race. Look at their squad. They should be, 100%. So, yeah, we need to be looking behind us. Absolutely. Marco says, how much wages do you think we've saved letting all the players go? Look, we've saved money for sure, but I'm not an accountant. I don't really care about that. You know, I care about Arsenal winning. I don't want Arsenal to have a small squad, but go, do you know what? At least we've saved money. At least we've made profit. That isn't for me. Like, that really isn't. Last question of the day is a massive shout out to my niece and nephew, Max and Orla, who are watching, who are enjoying their caravan holiday with, of course, mum and dad. So please make sure you have a great time, and I'll come and see you very, very shortly. Big up to all of you. Massive love to all of you. And I hope you are well, Max, and I hope you're well, Orla. And I'll see you very soon. Listen, people, do me a favor. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure that you hit subscribe. Make sure you go over to manscaped.com and select the beard hedger. You'll get 20% off using the code FTM20. So please make sure that you do that. There's 300 of you watching. Please make sure you hit the like button. We've not hit 100 yet, so please make sure we can get to over 100 likes in the next few minutes. Please make sure you hit the subscribe button. We are reaching close to 25k. The next big target is 30. The next one is 25. So please make sure we can get there as soon as possible. Wes Bird, big up and for showing love to my niece and nephew, Max and Orla. I hope you're both very well. And listen, take it easy, and we'll see you next time, people. Take care.
Yes, people, Manscaped is back, but this time It's not for below the belt grooming. Manscaped brings to you the Beard Hedger, the best product on the market when it comes to beard trimmers. The Beard Hedger is unique due to its number of radiant settings. As someone who's purchased this, I won't turn to any other beard trimmer. Check it out for yourself at manscaped.com. And don't forget to use code FTM20 to get 20% off of this product.